Hey guys, Will here, and I'm about to run down some of the features that I found most interesting in the latest version of DaVinci Resolve, version 16. It is, of course, in beta, so a lot of these features are either bound to change slightly or improve so they don't crash your system. So if you want to know about all the other ones that we don't go over here today, you can just head over to the website, and they have a pretty good archive of all the new features. And if you head on over to the support page, they also have a list of the improvements as well. One of the better features is actually this little show page navigation. Gets rid of this pesky little bar at the bottom that took up so much real estate unnecessarily. I mean, you can also do a right click and show icons only, but that's kind of like, neither here nor there. So jumping right into it, one of the first things that I actually like about DaVinci Resolve 16 is the cut page. I did not think I would like it as much as I did, but it's actually pretty amazing. And here's why. So they have this new source tape mode, which strings together all of the clips in any given bin into one long clip. Well, practically one long clip. So I can go through here and play it back at whatever speed I deem necessary to go through all of the footage, or use their little playback button for fast review, which is what it's called. And this is smarter than I am. Because I would probably just play it back at 16x all the way through. This will actually slow down for smaller clips, and speed up for the longer clips. So it's doing the math to try to keep things a little bit more coherent. But you can basically go through and, I can say this clip I liked. I could go in and out and do F9 to pop it in there. And then I can keep going through and doing in and outs. And it will even work well with in-between clips. So if you are stringing a bunch of clips together, you notice I pressed F9 at that point, and it's added 3 or 4 different clips that happen to be in that section of the source tape. You could still do the individual thing and go in here if you want something very specific. But I find that for rough cuts or rough edits, especially for stuff like this where you've been shooting all day, here's another one where it was, this is actually a few years old, where it's like a lot of stuff going on. You can go ahead and very quickly, do a pass or two and be able to get a bunch of stuff on the edit page, on the timeline, and then be able to go over to the edit page and finesse if you want to do that. There is also one other mode which is pretty interesting. I'll go over here and do a new timeline, which is actually another one of the most mind-blowing features that we have, at least for Resolve users. Premiere and I think Final Cut, some of these other apps have this already, where you can do custom settings and different timelines. That's one of the things that I feel had been holding Resolve back as far as functionality goes. Because if you messed up your frame rate when you started a project, then you would have to start a new project and happen to figure out a way, jerry-rig a way to get your footage and your edit, if you had already started, over to that new timeline with the new frame rate. Here, now you could just create a new timeline and just sort of drag and drop stuff over, which is pretty cool. I'm just going to create a new one. They have this new feature called Source Overwrite. So this is the wide shot down here on the timeline. And I'm going to mute it for the sake of our sanity. It is, just standard footage. Here is a close-up. Not the best composition, but the point is that you can grab any section of it and click Source Overwrite. You should be able to just... Oh, you know what? This is not the full thing, so this is 416. It's because it's not in there. So I got to go back to the wide and do Alt-X to make sure that I don't have anything selected. I'll drag it back in here. This is the full clip now, so the full 15-minute interview. And then when I go up here and do it again, Source Overwrite, it automatically pops it in onto timeline at the exact moment that it's supposed to be. So if I scrub behind, you'll see, it's pretty much on time, like frame accurate. So it's really impressive. So even from this clip, which is the actual wide one we have, if I was scrolling through here, and I feel like this is a better example, if I was scrolling through here and I found an action, so maybe his hands here was something I really wanted, I can mark this in, and there's his gesture, maybe a little bit further out. Technically, you could do it right here on the timeline, and I did the mistake of actually marking it on the timeline, so I'll just do it here anyway, but you can break here. Actually, no, I won't. I'll double-click up here, and I'll find that right here. We'll say that's the movement. And then I do the source overwrite. It will know exactly where to drop it, as long as I Alt-X here, so it doesn't have any restrictions. as you can see, I'm still making my way around this thing. But if you notice, okay, that worked. And there's the movement. Obviously, nothing changed because it's the exact same clip. But now you have these settings over here. Just tools is what they call them. But it's all the transform stuff from before, where I can now go in and very quickly do recomposition. And then now we have that to there. So instead of having to work with the actual clip on the timeline and figure it out and whatever, I can actually just, you know, grab the clip from the source and just go through it and see if there's anything. So, you know, maybe here he gets really animated. I can grab that. And here's the other function that's actually really interesting. So he gets really animated here. And let's say we wanted a close-up of that from the footage. Let's assume we're shooting 4K. This is old DSLR footage. It's not 4K. But you can click this button here where it says close-up, and it will know exactly where to drop it on the timeline because of the time code, but it will also do the 2x. Now, the glitch here is that there's no real context manager. There's no way for the, you know, the close-up mode to know what's going on. So what they're doing is basically just zooming it in, and you can see the settings here is basically just a 2x. So you have to manually go in here and then reposition it. So now we have his animated state. So he's there, and then we have that. It just makes it really easy to go through and make a rough edit. Where over here, there might have been a lot going on between, I mean, the audio waveforms are up and whatever. Here, we don't have that. You don't have waveforms. If you want to mute, you just have to do this over here. I don't know how that translates. Yeah, so it doesn't actually translate the audio. Oh, yes, it does. Okay, so it mutes it down here. Mute here, and it's muted here. So it just makes it really easy to go through. And then if I wanted another close-up, I can just cut it down here and do the same thing with the tools. The dynamic play, excuse me, not dynamic play, the fast review actually works down here too, where it'll do the same thing. Clips that are longer, it will play back faster. I don't know if it'll work here. It didn't do it. But the idea is it'll help speed things up. So I guess as far as what they were mentioning and referring to at the conference with the efficiency, all that seems to be working out okay. Just moving on, I'm spending a little bit too much time over here, is the new additions to the color page. So now you see in the curves, now we have histograms under everything. So for example, this footage, you can obviously tell has a lot of stuff in this color range. And before you would have to kind of eyeball it, or you'd have to click on the eyedropper and see where it falls. But now I can see exactly where it falls. So I'm going to double click down here just to make sure that that dot isn't going anywhere. And then I can see right here is where I have the most of it. Now this is luminosity. This is not something I'd want to do here. But if it was something that was, for example, saturation, hue versus saturation, and I clicked it again, and I found that very specific spike, I could probably get rid of that if it was bothering me. That's exaggerated, but that's kind of the gist of it. Where any clips, I'm going to go ahead and just grab one of these, create a new one, go into color. We could try out the auto mode, which actually works a lot better than it used to. I don't know how well it's going to do with this clip, but I pressed the button. We'll see. It does take a little bit of time. Now, I'm on the studio version, and this is what they call the neural engine approach to it. Actually didn't do too bad of a job. Not bad at all for an auto. We could probably pop in another clip. So go to edit, and we'll grab maybe something with... Alright, so this is a wide from a similar situation, so we'll see if it actually does anything with this one. Press the A. Actually, that one did a lot quicker. Yeah, I mean, that's not horrible. It's obviously not even, but neither was the lighting, so, you know, it's one of those things where... Excuse my horrible mask. But, you know, this side might be, you know, taken down. But that's definitely more of a secondary situation than it is a you know, initial grade kind of thing. But the idea that you can actually get a more usable starting point from the auto mode is actually still pretty impressive. But yes, the waveforms are a big deal. Huge deal, because it gives you an idea of what exactly is going on. So even here you can see that we have a little bit of blue coming in. Now, obviously, this is not the same as this waveform over here. This is just a regular histogram, so this doesn't relate to the image. It just so happens that the image is sort of laid out in a way that it seems like it's similar enough, where this hue of sort of like a bluish color is over her hair on the right. Now, her skin's obviously a little bit on the pink side. It's probably, you know, a factor of the auto color thing. But the idea is that now all this stuff is moving in real time for the first time ever since, you know, the inception of nature. I don't know, whatever. Since Resolve came out, you know, and was available probably since version 8 for us, you know, peasants. For us normal users who couldn't afford the $100,000 panels from before. But yeah, this is really amazing. Mostly because if you see anything going on that's wrong, and we're not dropping frames or anything like that, you can play back and still have the option of seeing what's wrong with your footage. Before, if I was doing any grading and it was on this system, then you would have to stop playback, figure out where you were with the scopes, and then get rid of them and play back again and do the same thing. At least now, I could literally have this. I'm going to try to use one scope and make it the size of the viewer roughly, just so we can get a more accurate representation of what's going on the screen. So we'll do here, and we'll go back to our waveform, and you'll see that now I can see this is her hair. This is her moving towards the right, and you can see as she moves from left to right, so does the waveform, and that to me is really impressive. Since you don't have to go out and spend, you know, $600 or $700 on like a MacBook Mini and scope box or whatever happens to be the third-party case. So let's see what else we got on this list. That was real-time waveforms and waveform settings. So we do have actually more settings. Some of you might not find it interesting, but the fact that you can, for example, in the vector scope, be able to tell the difference between your low, mids, and highs. So, you know, your shadows, midtones, and highlights. As far as color, is really great because you can actually go in here and know exactly where your shadows are going versus the rest of the you know, the other ranges, which is something that only the more advanced, or rather third-party scopes used to offer. I feel like I'm starting to lose my voice. Okay, so facial recognition bins I find to be, that's not actually what it's called. I'm going to go into edit, and we'll do a right click, and there's a thing now called, or I think I have to select the clips, right click, and do analyze clips for people. So now what it's going to do is going to take the time to actually go through all of these clips and try to find faces. This is actually something I've wanted for a really long time, because when you have shoots like this with multiple people, or if you have, say, an event or maybe even a music video, and you don't want to go through the hassle of, well, I guess you should technically meta tag your stuff anyway, but it just makes a very quick way, especially if it's something with quick turnaround, if you want to separate it by person. So if you know that in any given time you need a clip of, say, John, then you have a smart bin, over to the left that gets automatically created with all the clips that include John. Now I noticed that it's been a little bit of hit or miss depending on the type of footage. I noticed that with some of the extreme close-up stuff, it wasn't working well for some low-light stuff I shot, but then there was some stuff even from that beauty shoot. Actually, I didn't show it on this take, but there's some fashion stuff that I shot where it actually tagged the model perfectly in every single shot. So I guess it's just because of the fact that it's a beta version right now, but it's using machine learning to identify faces, and that's really cool. It is taking a lot longer than I thought it would, so I'm going to cancel out. And thankfully it did not crash. I'm going to save. Let me see if I can find something that's a little bit not as many people. That's 133 clips. Let's see if this is the one I was talking about. So it did actually find her accurately in every single one of these clips. This one's 95. I'm not waiting for that either. The point is, it does work. I believe this is a studio feature only, so unfortunately it's not available in the free version, as far as I'm aware. but it is definitely one of those worthwhile features. So I showed some of the multicam stuff. We do have an object removal mode that's supposed to be pretty impressive, but I won't go over that because I used it and it was really hit or miss. Very hit or miss. We also have quick export now in all of the pages. I just don't remember where it is specifically because I saw it in the cut page. So we have this little thing over here, and you can go directly to YouTube, Vimeo, or just these independent formats. And you can actually set that up. I think it was in preferences under user. Was it user? Internet accounts. So we have Frame.io for collaboration. We have Vimeo and YouTube, and you can go directly into that, which is pretty cool. I might try that actually with this video going up. If you guys are interested in knowing how that went, just shoot me a comment. Let's see what else is going on. I'm sorry, I have a list, so I'm actually going down my list. I'm checking it twice, making sure everybody's not here. Okay, forget about it. Histogram curves, we have the facial recognition, we have multicam. There's also a new plugin for beauty improvements. I'll try to get some of these fashion clips together and beauty clips and put those together to do a specific video on that. But I feel like this is a pretty good place to stop. We're already at 18 minutes, and that's a little ridiculous. Definitely longer than I thought it was going to go, but I feel like it's worth going over from a slightly different perspective than the actual promo videos, just to get a feel for what's going on. Fusion clips have also been improved, which is huge for me because I used to want to be able to use these. Let's see, so effects library, get rid of media pool, and we'll try even the titles. And sometimes even the titles were a pain in the butt to use. I'm just gonna do whatever's in here, and we'll start it from back here and see if it actually works. This is literally the first time I'm using them. Also, they cache back definitely a lot quicker. I remember that I tried using them before, and even caching them was pretty slow, and this pretty much just popped right in, which is really impressive. Let's see, this one just popping it in and not giving it a chance to do anything. It took a second with a T10. Yeah, it took a minute, but it's definitely working a lot faster than it did before. Like, it gave me a lot of issues before to use them, and it's a shame. It sucks because some of these are actually pretty good. As like a very quick, especially for like YouTube content, right? Like, you want something that just pops in and out. This one, I mean, that's still pretty quick for how it used to be. And this is on top of red footage on a laptop. So, I mean, the fact that, it went over it once or twice and then it was able to do it, it's pretty good. It's convenient. So I will leave it at that. You guys let me know what you want to see next, and I will check you on the next one.